Jingle jingle friends, welcome to holidays at Harmony Hills Home and Garden. I'm Jenny and we are making faux candy today for my Candyland themed Christmas tree. Today's project is to make these giant gumdrops. They're made out of spray foam, paint, glue, and vase filler crystals. Come with me and let's figure out how to make these faux treats for the Candyland theme. I'm using these plastic Easter eggs. They're kind of large. I got them on Amazon. And I'm using these as a mold. Now I'm going to fill them with this craft foam that I got at Michael's. This is similar to foam insulation, but it's intended for craft purposes. So I'm just spraying this expandable craft foam into the eggs, and they should expand and fill up the eggs. Now, I didn't make up this method. I was watching some other YouTube crafters making gumdrops, and this is how they did it. So I'm just following their lead. So you can see here, I'm just trying to fill in the egg, and the package says to fill it about 2/3 full. So I tried to do that, stopping there. And it should expand to fill the entire egg, and maybe even bubble out over a little bit. You know, I couldn't leave good enough alone. I had to put a little bit more in there. It didn't look like it was expanding, so I put some more in there just for good measure. I ended up using the entire can of this craft foam. And then I left them there to dry. Hi friends, it's now a few days later and I'm now going to show you what happened with my eggs. I have to be honest with you. I tried to open these up out of their molds a couple of days ago, and it was disappointing because the bottom portion of the egg didn't have access to air, and so it didn't get dry down in there. So when I put it apart, all I had was this topper part. It looks like, I don't know what it looks like, but the bottom part was still sticky and wet. And then, so I was just disappointed. I was in a rush, and so what I did was I just stuck these back in here and set them aside. And now, here we are another couple of days later, and this part is now hard down in there too. So now I've got to figure out how to get these out of there. Trying a craft stick. Option. Alright, so now we can see that there is an egg shape down in there, but it has this strange little foamy edge. And it's supposed to be, you know, like that. And my idea was I would cut off this extra on the bottom, and then I would have this cute little gumdrop shape. That would be such a wonderful, wonderful plan. But now I have these two separate pieces. And so now I'm kind of wondering if I can still salvage these, spackle them together, and kind of smooth it out and have kind of a mixed media project going on. I was hoping that it would all be foam and lightweight, but maybe I can use spackle to join these together and still be able to use them. I don't know. Ooh, look at that one. It's got this see-through center part, but it did reconnect on the sides. Ooh, it's very, oh, it's still wet in the very, very, very tip. All right, this is what I was going for in the original idea. I was going for the egg shape to be created out of this foam, and I just cut this bottom part off and smooth it off. Now I do have this kind of delicate, clear air hole in the middle of there, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be able to use this. I still want to paint it, and I still want to put glitter on it. So I don't know if it's going to fall apart when I try to do that, or if it'll hold. I don't know. All right, so this one didn't reconnect, so there we go. So this one probably isn't going to be salvageable because there's not, I don't know. But also, this kind of looks like a large cupcake, kind of. I could convince myself that's a large cupcake, so maybe I'll salvage this one and use it as a different kind of project. I don't know. no reconnection here. Another potential for some sort of cupcake or maybe some sort of mini lemon tart with meringue topping or something. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so yeah, not what I was going for, but maybe I'll use this one as some other sort of fake dessert. I don't know. I was pretty disappointed, so I decided to retry with a new kind of foam. This is Loctite Tight Foam Insulation Spray, and it's supposed to expand up to 3 times the size of the initial spray. So I figured that if I use the foam applicator and only coat the edges of the mold of the egg, then leave the center empty, that it could expand evenly into the center. And so that was what I decided to try again. So I made 6 more using this new method. Okay friends, it's a new day. We're back trying to get these styrofoam egg shapes that are going to turn into gumdrops to work out. So I cut the tops off of them last night. I found out that the centers were still wet, and so I left them in their containers, hopefully to dry out. Now there's a chance that the bottom tip is still going to be wet, but I'm hoping to get these out and see. I don't know. Now the video I saw where the lady did hers this way, she did have wet centers, but I don't know, she didn't talk about it. She didn't say what she did to fix it, so I don't know. Okay, all right, so this one, oops, it looks like it's a little soft still, but if I just leave it alone and don't fuss with it, maybe that'll dry and work. So I'm just gonna set that aside. I'm gonna consider that one a success. All right, this one, it has a big hole here, but I think I can spackle that in. Can you see that hole? Not really, it's hard to see, but right there, there's a big hole in it. So, and then it's got a wobbly side. I think I'll be able to salvage this one. I was thinking about this last night, trying to figure out how I could use this product and this method of a mold to make it work. And the only thing I could figure is I just have to do it in layers. You just fill the tip of the egg and let that set before you add in the rest of the sides. That's the only thing I can figure. And I don't know if I'm gonna try this again. This will be the second one of these, so maybe this is gonna be the end of it for me. And I was thinking, you know, I could have just put something across the bottom here and used this as my gumdrop. That wouldn't have been the end of the world. And it's just not the look I'm going for. I'm looking for more of a less brightly colored something or other. I don't know. I don't know why I just didn't use the eggs themselves, but I could have. And for the cost, it probably would have been just as efficient to just buy another set of these, have 12 of the eggs, and then put glitter on them and be done with it. This one doesn't want to come out. Oh, here it comes. I think the very tip of that one is still wet, so I'm not going to fuss with it. I'll just let that one dry on its own. That one looks really good, actually. It is done all the way through. It's got a hole here, but I can spackle that. This is one of the better ones of them. This one looks like it has a double-decker. Lots of air and space right here. And then the top is still a little... What? Onto the floor that one went. Okay. This one I fussed with last night, and so it's kind of a loser. Okay, so that effort was partially successful, I'll say. I'm going to figure out how I can salvage as many of these as possible. I may end up with only a few for my tree, but it is what it is. Now with these, which are the ends that I cut off, I'm thinking I might be able to just paint these up and make them into some sort of fake baked good. Don't they look like a sweet roll or something if I
set that on a tray and paint it brown with golden goodness and maybe some icing sugar on it or something. Couldn't I convince somebody that this is some sort of a sweet bread pastry of some kind? I think I'm gonna try that. I think they kind of look like cinnamon rolls, the way they have a little bit of a swirl on them. So I think I'm not gonna waste this. I think I'm gonna try to turn these into fake pastries of some kind using paint and the power of the imagination. Okay, I bought this big huge tub of spackle for the purpose of crafting my holiday candy things for my sweet shop tree. So this is what I'm using. It's called Fast and Final Patch and Prime in One Step. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this as my putty knife that we've had in, I think, I don't know, we probably bought this when we bought our first house in 1991. So that's how old this putty knife is. Now I'm very worried about this particular one. So I'm going to actually break that and stuff in some spackle strategically like that. Now it's not going to fill in the entire inner layer, but I'm going to kind of create bridges, if that makes any sense. And I'm just going to keep reminding myself that nothing has to be perfect. This is fun. I'm not selling these to some high dollar client or anything. These are just going to go on my own personal Christmas tree. And so I can stop obsessing about how perfect they are or aren't, as the case may be. Okay, so hot mess, but I'm gonna let these dry now.
And the next day I sanded them. I just used a rough sandpaper, just kind of a heavy grit one. Got them mostly smooth, but it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be covering these up with glitter-like things. Now I'm using paper clips to make hangers. I just cut the paper clips in half and then used hot glue to stick them down into the tops, leaving a loop of wire so that you can put a string through them to hang them on a tree. Next step, paint. I'm just using acrylic craft paint, nothing added in here, just paint. And I tried to get them nice and covered, but you can still see some of the white through it, but that's all right. Okay, now I'm using this vase filler that I got at Michael's. It's called Decorative Vase Filler, and it's just these little acrylic crystals. They're cylinder shaped. I'm using Mod Podge, and I'm just going to use this Mod Podge nice and thick on here and then attach that vase filler acrylic crystal onto there to mimic the sugar that's on the outside of gumdrops. And yes, I did get vase filler crystals all over my craft room. They bounce. After that Mod Podge dries, it's going to look beautiful and exactly like a huge gumdrop covered with sugar. I just repeat this process for all of the gumdrops. Alright, after I had let them dry, for the most part, I repeated the process on the bottoms, and then also I filled in any holes where some of the crystals had already fallen off. So this was a multi-step process. I think I ended up doing this process about 3 times total to fill in all of the gaps with fake sugars. I tell you, after all the fuss with the foam molds, this was the fun and easy part of this project for sure. They looked so cute when they were done. And here they are on the Christmas tree. I think they turned out adorable. There are still some gaps where the crystals fall off, so I think I'm going to have to take a little bit of clear spray paint glaze to really adhere those and make sure they don't rub off. But they're just so adorable. And again, they don't have to be perfect. They're just for my own Christmas tree. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. And I'll see you again soon, folks.